Good morning and welcome to another episode of All in the Mishpacha. This is the latest Mishpacha magazine. Nothing as sweet or Yitzchak Zilberstein traces his path to greatness. I did not put out an episode last week because I did not have Mishpacha last week. This is the Mega Pesach edition. I am in America right now and I did not get it delivered in time before I left from Israel. So I just got it, and unfortunately, this is a mega edition that sells for $14 here in New York. There was maybe a couple of pages worth reading in the entire magazine. The one I want to focus on today is a voice in the crowd, Israel Besser. I've talked about his articles a couple of times, I think. This is very interesting. He's definitely the best writer that they have in Mishpacha. He starts off the short article, going to town. This is a column I have long wanted to write, but could not. Now is my window. Baruch Hashem, we just married off a daughter, and with our next daughter just 10 years old, I can publish this column without appearing self-serving. He's basically stating the case for out-of-towners, why people in town, like Monsey and Brooklyn and Lakewood, Era Kodesh, should consider out-of-town girls, consider those girls from Minneapolis and California or Chicago. He said obviously the reason a lot of people don't consider them, even though they come from fine families, the number one reason is not convenient. Why, if you have so many resumes for your son, right? He's talking about a son going after the daughter. Why should you have to go to Cleveland to go date her? Why should you have to go to Detroit to go date her? Toronto, why are you going to these places? He is actually from Montreal, Quebec. Why are you going to these places? It's a hassle. It's inconvenient. He says that's the main reason they don't do it. I believe that's not just the main reason. There's also, people look down on people out of town. Out of towners are not in style. They're not in fashion. They're not with it. They're not as cool as the Lakewood chevra, the real people, the real Jews. You're only a real Jew if you live in Lakewood. But he makes the case. He wants to make a case now why you should consider the resumes of girls from out of town. He gives a number of reasons over here. First of all, he says most out-of-town communities have just one or two Beis Yaakov schools. Invariably, this means that the girls will have classmates from homes, both firmer and more modern than their own. From kindergarten on, they will learn to respect, to accept, and to understand others. They walk home from school or are lab partners with girls who come from homes in which they might not be able to trust the kashrus, or girls who would not eat in their homes. And yet they form real, vibrant friendships. They have no choice, and without a single lecture, they learn to see a bit deeper. When it comes time for high school, they probably don't need to jostle to push to get in, because everyone gets in. There's much less external pressure to perform well on tests or get into a top seminary, because there are fewer girls trying. If they say they want a learning boy, then it's likely they really, really do want a learning boy. Not like those girls from the 5 towns who, after a year of marriage, say they want their mansion. Again, I'm not saying an in-town girl does not, just that peer pressure exerted by 250 fellow classmates might make it harder for her to get to know herself. I mean, I can't agree with him any more than this. Again, he continues, what if your son is a working boy and wants to marry a young woman who'll be proud of him? Well, an out-of-town girl knows that many men show up to shul with shirts that aren't white, and they're still counted as part of the minyan. Hard to believe, right? A blue shirt? You throw them out of shul, no? She knows that there are no hard and fast rules, other than those that come from Har Sinai. But what makes a young man a ben Torah and Erlich Hayid? These girls have been exposed to all sorts and learned to appreciate each other. Next, every mother wants a relaxed, easy-going girl for her son. I'm not saying that in-town girls aren't relaxed, but consider that any out-of-town girl who went to camp did so via planes, vans, or more than one bus, coming either too late, too early, or too late. Every single person from out of town has once arrived in New York/Lakewood for a simcha carrying a suitcase, had to change in a shul or wedding hall restroom. They've all unwittingly gone to one pizza shop that everyone else knows to avoid. How terrible. Many of us out-of-towners don't have frum doctors, mechanics, or even neighbors, which means we've had to learn diplomacy. It also means that our kesher with other visibly frum Yidden in cities where we are an overwhelmingly minority becomes like that of family. It makes for excellent social skills. Spot on. With a lack of local shops and the geographic inability to park outside whatever the hottest store in town is and sleep there overnight so you're the first in after opening, our girls have never dressed with that mega precise accuracy of in-towners, knowing which brand is today, which is yesterday, which is last year, and which is out of town. Be honest, this will make your son's life easier, right? Yes. I'm going to talk a little bit about my perspective because I married a girl from Israel. My Haredi family, Israel. So that's the really out of the country, not just out of town, out of the country. I'll talk about out of town versus out of the country versus Israel, international girls. Also, when I analyze this, we get that once a week. Oh, Montreal. I thought Toronto, same difference. Denver, Detroit. I can never remember where my cousin moved to. People in Lakewood, they have no idea about the rest of the world. That's famously depicted in Kichels a number of months ago, where people were shocked by the Kichels were saying everyone in Lakewood only knows about Lakewood. They don't know where anything else is. Chicago, is that next to Phoenix? Is that next to Montreal? They have no idea. And some people took it seriously. I don't think it was a joke, but some people took the Kichels seriously, and they said, it's terrible that you make fun of Lakewood people like this. It's a joke. I mean, it's a joke, but it's true. Oh, they also know how to cook, a necessary byproduct of having limited restaurant options and food establishments that close dark. That's also not a bad feature of life. Okay, Lamais, out of town has become a label in Shidduchim. And I understand this reality. I suggest only that before you push the resume to the side, because to you it spells pure inconvenience, you take one more moment to contemplate the many wonderful things that come along with it. May we all share simchas, make simchas, enjoy simchas, and experience the truest simcha and the joyous embrace of the only city that ever mattered. I think he's talking about Jerusalem. Okay, very nice piece. I agree with him wholeheartedly. Everything he says over here is spot on. Again, I will reiterate that the biggest stigma is not that the inconvenience. It's even more of a stigma of out-of-town girls. They're just not cool enough. They're not with it. Now, I married a girl from Israel, Haredi family in Israel. Her father was a Rebbe at Neve Tzion. So she had she saw a lot of American guys. Neve Tzion is American yeshiva. A lot of them are not, mainstream guys that, had difficulties, but they came to her house a lot for Shabbos. She was familiar with American guys. That's why a lot of her and a lot of her sisters married American guys, because they saw the Americans are better than Israelis. That's just every Israeli girl knows that, because they're more open-minded, they're more fun. Israelis are too much in the box in Israel, just like American girls from Lakewood and from Brooklyn and from Muncie are too in the box from the Jewish community here in America. Now I'm in America for Pesach. I was in America. My parents, I have a sister who lives in Woodmere. I have a sister who lives in Chicago, which is not out of town. I have a brother who lives here in my parents' town, in West Hempstead. Getting to know my nieces and nephews a little bit. I see this exactly. Woodmere is definitely in town. West Hempstead, I guess, is sort of close to the five towns. I see it more. I see it very clearly over here that, you have to wear certain clothes. You have to, go to certain camps, go to certain schools. My brother-in-law was telling me there's like 10, at least 5 different choices for high schools. I told him it leads to divisiveness in Klal Yisrael. I've talked about this many times. Even having 10 shuls in Telstone, where I live in Israel, there's 10 different shuls over there. It's only 5,000 people. Why do you need 10 shuls? Every year another shul opens. Why do you? It brings. Oh, I go to this shul because my shul is unique. They have They have the perfect combination of ruchnius, but they're normal also. And every seminary and every different high school here in America, we have the perfect combination. We'll prepare your girls, for real life, but also with real ruchnius. Like every school that opens up, we're unique, we're different. You're different, right? You're creating devices in Klal Yisrael. I think personally, marrying an international girl and even living, this I want to talk a little more about living internationally. I lived in Israel. I've been living in Israel for 8 years now, and Americans, they only know America. This is just in general about America, at least the Jewish world. They only understand America. They think the whole world is America. They don't understand there's a whole world outside of America. There is an entire world outside of America. Does not use the same, uses a metric system. They have totally different ways of seeing the world. I go to shul here in West Hempstead. I see people, no one knows how to dress over here. People are, there's a modern Orthodox community over here. This shul here is modern Orthodox. I'm shocked. People have money over here. They're not wearing black and white over here, but they're just awful and dress. They don't care how they dress. They don't care. They wear one color sneakers, one color shirt, one color hat, one color pants. Completely not matching. I'm like, you have the money, you have the resources. Care about yourselves a little bit. But Americans, you just they don't care about. I'm not saying all Americans, but they don't care about fashion and care about style. I feel like America is just, everyone uses the iPhone over here, and no one uses Android over here. Like, that's the only phone to use, even though Galaxy is better in many ways. I've talked about this more in my news segments. It's just, there's the Jewish community, obviously the from Jewish community, and then there's just Americans in general that, I don't know, I think non-Jews travel the world a lot more. They're more open to, they're not so boxed into their communities over here, the shuls and the communities and the schools, and they don't get a real perspective of what the world is. So even if you're marrying an out of town girl, the out of town girl might also, they're probably more worldly, but they also might be only Americans. They might think America's the center of the world, just like the from world thinks that Lakewood thinks that they're center of the world in the Jewish community. It's very sad to me. It's very sad that people don't appreciate the world, and the from community in America don't appreciate other people outside. What he's talking about over here about dealing with people that are different than you. Yeah, and there's only one or two schools. You go with school with girls that are either more from or less from. You're less judgmental, right? And that's really what I've talked about, the shit up crisis. That's really the main driving force behind the shit up crisis, is that it's not okay to marry a guy who's working. It have to be the best of the best. The best of the best. You go to the best seminaries, the best yeshivas. Only the best of the best marry each other. Everything else is b'diavad, a very bad b'diavad, very bad, you know, if it happens, it happens, but we really try as hard not to let it happen. There's nothing wrong with marrying a working guy. I blamed it on education, the education of the seminaries and yeshivas, but it's also a byproduct of everyone living in these, beautiful, amazing communities of Lakewood and Brooklyn and Muncie and the five towns. I believe there's nothing else in the world. And of course, a working guy is much inferior. There's nothing wrong with a working guy. There's nothing wrong with the guy who wears a blue shirt or a purple shirt or a pink shirt. I mean, a purple shirt does not look so nice. Pink shirt also maybe not so nice. But, it's sad that, and the worst thing about it is that the trends that you have in the Frum society are ugly. I have to tell you. I remember seeing pictures of Simcha in Lakewood. Some family, my wife, they had made a Simcha in Lakewood. I remember seeing old pictures. The men were wearing black and white. The women were wearing black and white. The walls were black and white. The tablescapes were black and white. The food was black and white. The photography was black and white. Everything in this place was black and white. I'm like, do you have any, knowledge or feeling for colors? This world is a colorful place. Why would you not want to make use of colors in this world? I think in style now in the five times. I see in the advertisements in Mishpacha magazine, it's like, the main colors are like gray and like a very dull green or pink. Like, hello, listen, you shouldn't be overly flamboyant with colors because, being overly flamboyant is not tasteful, but colors should be embedded in fashion, in architecture, in home decor. Color is important. I've got a bugaboo butterfly stroll. They had three colors: black, blue, and green. The blue wasn't so nice. In Israel, the stores didn't really have the green, so a couple, my wife's sisters got black. I picked the green one. The green was much nicer than the black one. I showed it to some of the family here in America. No, you go with the black one. Black has no color. It's boring. Here, I have these, earbuds or Samsung Galaxy. They're really good, better than AirPods. They have three colors: black, white, and purple. I'm not getting black or white. My AirPods, I have it. Apple AirPods are white. They don't. He's like, there's no way. My sister's like, there's no way Apple makes it. You're right. No way Apple makes it. Apple, America, you have to be boring over here, black and white. No, purple's a nice color. It's a nice color, for these things. You could check it out over here. I think it's a nice color. So, it's very sad that people are neglecting, having good taste in fashion, having good taste in the world, being worldly, and being, you know, open to different people, open to different ways of doing things. And right, one of the points he said is that it helps financial. You know, all these people in the from community are going to Colo. They have to save money. You know, the latest fashion trends cost a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to keep up with all the fashion trends. I think I saw a letter in the magazine also. I think it was in the woman's actual part, and all and the family first. You know, a woman was complaining that that she said I can get along with the frumkeit of black hats and black yarmulkes and dressing white and black. That okay, it protects Jewish society. I don't think that's true, but the worst part is that we have to introduce all these trends. You have to wear this. You know, my niece showed me a pony holder, which would probably cost $2 at anywhere else. It was the brand Aloe, ALO. I never heard of this brand before. $26 for that. Why? Because everyone else is doing it. It's crazy. It really is crazy that people are spending the money. And your sons who are learning in Kollel, right? They're going to marry this girl. They don't want to spend the latest trends. Live out of town, I think that's the best solution. I think if you're living in America and you want to learn in Kollel and you want to save money, go live out of town. Live out of town. You don't have to go to Israel. I mean, I recommend Israel also, but go out of town. Go to a nice place with warm weather. I don't know. Go to Texas or something like that, or California. But go to places that have nice weather. I think Florida already is becoming in town already with this trends and stuff like that. So it's sad. He's 100% right. It makes sense. And I'll tell you personally, I married a girl from a family that was not rich at all. Haredi family. My father-in-law was a Rebbe at Neve. My mother-in-law took care of the house, 11 kids. And my wife, when I took her out to a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, a steakhouse. She was shocked. She never went out to a steakhouse growing up. I took her to a 5-star hotel, Leonardo Plaza in Jerusalem, and they had some meals there. She was shocked. She didn't feel comfortable in the beginning, like what's all this food and but what's these accommodations? But she got used to it. She likes it. Everyone likes a little good, a little good gashmi as a little luxury in their lives. We don't go all the time to these hotels and restaurants. We do sometimes, but there's no expectations. My wife, I have to force my wife to spend money. Most men would love my position that their wives would not want to spend money. They don't want to spend money. They're used to saving money. They're used to, because money is something which is important to live on, because you don't have oodles and oodles of money. So they're not spending so much money. It's definitely easier on the Kollel lifestyle. You don't have to spend so much money. He talks about, he doesn't think out-of-town girls are nicer. There is a rumor out there that out-of-town girls are nicer. I believe they are nicer also. He says they're not nicer. I believe they're nicer. They're definitely more easygoing. Out of town, they'll get along with more people. Like he says, they interact with a lot of non-Jews also, which is very important because you grow up in the frum societies and they basically tell you that non-Jews are, like goyim, like they look down on goyim. Anyone who's not Jewish is a goy. But, God created the world with a lot of non-Jews out there. They're inferior. Why are they inferior? Because they were created to born into a Christian or a Muslim family or an atheist family. They're given the same ability as we are. They're given free will also, and they can choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. I hate the notion that we assume that only people born into a yeshivish Haredi family who were learning Torah their whole life for some reason superior to everybody else. What did you do to be born into such a family? You have your own decisions to make, right? Maybe the right decision is not be so Haredi, not be so frum, and to actually go get a job, right? That's your Nisa. And for his Nisa, maybe it's to incorporate some spirituality into his life. So everyone is born fair. God is fair. There's a lot of different types of people in this world. You're not superior to anyone else because you're living in the right community. You're living in Lakewood. When I met people from Lakewood, it really, not everyone from Lakewood. I don't like to make generalizations, but I definitely met a lot of people from Lakewood. And there's something about Lakewood that really ticks me off more than any other community, is that they not only do things different, but they think that the way they do things different is better than everybody else. There's a lot of Jews out there who purposely do things different. They want to, not, be part of the regular society to show that they're different. Some people say it's, to preserve the Jewish Masorah, to Judaism. They shouldn't assimilate or learn from the Goyim. That's why they dress differently and things like that. But to do it differently and say, my way is better. To say you're different, acknowledge you're different, you are different, right? I don't think it's a good thing. I think that's a source of anti-Semitism, to be yeshivish, to be Semitic, do everything differently than everybody else. But there's one step worse, to not only do everything, but also to have stolz. They call it the stolz in yeshiva, to be proud, and you're better because you're different. I do things differently, and that really, I think, is the lowest of the low. So whether you're going to marry someone who's in town or out of town, it makes sense. I mean, it's inconvenient a little bit, but if you can work it out, the girl's going to come see the boy wherever they're living. I'm sure a lot of out of town girls are willing to compromise on that, and only if it's really successful, then maybe go fly and meet her parents in wherever they are, in Denver or whatever, or California. But at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense what he's saying. And it's unfortunate, not just in Shidduchim, it's unfortunate these communities, the insular communities we've created, people's lack of attention to the regular world. When you constrict yourself from out of the world, even from enclaves in America, what's going on with non-Jews and the rest of the world is very sad. First of all, people are not knowledgeable about the world. It's very important to be knowledgeable about the world, and it definitely helps if you marry an international girl like I did. Living in Israel, I basically seen two different ways of life. I've experienced the European market, living in Israel and stuff like that. So there's a lot of advantages to marrying into the international community. Marrying out of town is better than insular. If you're going to marry someone insular community, at least go to Israel or go to out of town community and become familiar with the world, because it's not just important in terms of the spouse is nicer and more easygoing and knows how to get along better with people, but also they are more worldly and they understand different perspectives in the world, which makes life a lot more interesting and a lot more fun. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. See you in the next one.